In this room, we often speak about footprints, whether it's our carbon footprint, chemical footprint, community footprint, greenhouse gas footprint. Well, Bill is an example of one of our members with a really big footprint. And I don't only mean those size 11 shoes, Bill. But since I've come to ICCR, I feel like at every turn, Bill has already been there and made his footprint. I went to Ceres and I found that Bill was the faith-based presence on their board. One of the early resolutions I did, I went to the annual meeting and they said, oh, so they sent you instead of Bill. When I got to Geneva and met with the World Council of Churches for the first time, the first question was, do you know Bill S.J.? And then, of course, there was a story about his dry sense of humor, and every one of them was different. I went to London for a meeting with an ecumenical group, saw Bill in the room, and every single person there knew him. Now, the fun one was I went to schedule a meeting at the Lutheran headquarters, and I worked for the Lutheran Church, and I gave them a list of names who was coming. And as they went down, they got to the S's, and they said, oh, we know him. I never did know if that was positive or negative. Then I thought it was really bad. We had moved to a new house in Pittsburgh, and it was right after the Presbyterian Assembly was in Pittsburgh. I was trying to explain to my new neighbor the kind of ecumenical work I did, and the first question was, do you know this guy named Bill? He's got a beard and he talks a lot. You're just all over the place, Bill. Seriously, Bill, your footprint has set a direction for many of us to follow, and your work will be valued for generations to come. So it is with great pleasure I invite you up and present you with a Legacy Award. So in typical ICCR fashion, the award is written as a shareholder proposal. So resolved that through the granting of the 2016 Legacy Award, all ICCR members recognize the contributions of Reverend William Somplatsky-Jarman in advancing the mission of our organization to ensure more just and sustainable corporations. And as a supporting statement, as staff of its mission responsibility through investment team in the mid-'80s, Bill helped the Presbyterian Church develop a strategy to pressure banks doing business in South Africa to divest and call for repayment of loans by the government. This launched his career in responsible investment and corporate engagement on behalf of the church, where he advocated on a number of social and environmental issues, including pushing banks on predatory lending, peacemaking, racial, social, and economic justice, human rights, anti-sweatshop and labor issues, environmental responsibility, including climate change, and securing women's rights. This year, after 32 years of commitment and impact, Bill retired from his role with the church. Pat Daly, a longtime colleague, said, Bill and I first worked together on labor issues with J.P. Stevens in the 70s. Ordained to corporate responsibility, Bill's ministry has invited faith communities and corporate executives to integrate the practical dimensions of the prophetic tradition into their finances and their work of corporations. It is a testament to his commitment to climate justice that he has attended more COPs in his career than most UN diplomats. Rob Four from the Presbyterian Church said throughout his long, distinguished career, Bill S.J. has been a steadfast presence within the church and beyond, working towards a more just and peaceful world. Best described as a consummate diplomat, Bill leads those around him to focus on who is right, but not who is right, but what is right. His shareholder advocacy efforts on behalf of the PCUSA have been a profound influence on corporate practices and ongoing initiatives of ICCR members, and we're grateful for his many contributions he's made to our coalition. the Board of Directors unanimously recommends that the share owners vote for this proposal.
Thank you all, and thank you, Pat, for those kind words. It proves that all the money I shoveled into that foundation that you suggested have paid off. Also, a word of appreciation to my colleagues in the Presbyterian Church USA and our Mission Responsibility through Investment Committee. All the support you have provided and leadership. It's truly been a partnership. And to all of our partners at ICCR and the other groups we work with, especially to the community people who trusted our commitments and our perseverance, and to the corporate people who were willing to step outside their comfort zone, take risks, and respond positively to our engagements. It's also appropriate that I have to give a special word of appreciation deeply to Carol, my life partner and spouse, for the last 45 years this month. Her commitment to justice and fair treatment has been an inspiration. Many times we work together, whether it be in France or here in the United States, working on the J.P. Stevens boycott and many other justice struggles. Looking back, September of 2016 is the 40th anniversary of my personal journey with ICCR. That month I called upon Tim Smith, and one day we drove out to meet with Regina Murphy to talk about shareholder engagement and activity around the J.P. Stevens boycott. It had been a little bit later that I actually handed Pat Daly a index card with a question to ask at a J.P. Stevens shareholder meeting, which I think was her first step into this work, and we all know what happened from that. The early pioneer times, as has been mentioned many times around here, were primarily a tenacious pursuit to end apartheid in South Africa. And it is fitting that we are gathering here at Riverside Church, where in the mid-1980s, we pulled together for the first time the World Council of Churches, our international church partners, and faith-based investors in the United States to launch a coordinated campaign against apartheid. A key element in that campaign was the successful targeting of international banks, not only to cut off loans in South Africa, but to demand the accelerated repayment of short-term debt. And along with the tenacious and long-standing popular resistance of the South African people, this choking off of access to capital is acknowledged as a major factor in forcing an end to apartheid. In the areas of human rights and environmental responsibility, we can rightly be proud of other accomplishments. Securing fair pay and better working conditions for tomato pickers in Florida and Ohio, defending trafficked Bangladeshi workers in Jordan, defending land rights of Mexican farmers living next to a DuPont plant producing the deadly hydrochloric acid in Matamoros, wrestling acknowledgments of climate change risk from Allstate and other companies, exposing corporate complicity in forced labor in Burma, setting Advanced Micro Devices and other companies on a path toward greater transparency and reporting of their environmental and social performance, working with Synergy on its first greenhouse gas emissions report, and its annual report dedicated to climate change. Demolished company claims that the lack of folic acid instead of pollution had caused the birth defects of babies along the Rio Grande River. Secured corporate greenhouse gas reduction goals at ConocoPhillips, among other companies. Helped force together, by working together, helped force an end to direct deposit payday loans at Wells Fargo. Publicized corporate complicity in the international law violations in the Sudan, Western Sahara, and occupied Palestinian territories. One of my favorite quotes, and I think it's probably for many of you as well, comes from 1967 when the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. addressed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Here he succinctly paraphrased a quote, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." We know this is true because we have seen it. We have experienced it. We've helped achieve it. We know this is true as well by the contagious nature of our corporate responsibility movement. Look around you, even though the room is dark, and you will see many more people and institutions represented who've become part of this movement. Trillions of dollars, as was mentioned before, are now invested according to financial and social and environmental goals. The 3 to 5% proxy votes of yesteryear have now gone so far up that we often have a majority in present-day proxy contests. Moving forward, of course, we face daunting challenges. Climate change threatens to undo the balance of natural balance on the earth. The crushing poverty, the growing, expanding wealth inequality, water scarcity, lack and loss of biodiversity, the denial of human rights, and the increasing effort to monetize everything possible for the financial gain of a few, and the denial of human rights to the many. But can we not look back on our past common work and see that it has prepped us for this moment in time? That it has given us the knowledge, the experience, the strength of character and heart to rise to these challenges. I am truly more confident than ever that 40 years from now, in another gathering, there will be people who will affirm that indeed the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, because they will have seen it, they will have experienced it, and they will have drawn even more throngs into the movement. Thanks be to God for all of that. Take a photo,
You're supposed to take a photo here. It's yours. You should hold it. It's yours.